We go to F7.
Okay, so this is the main screen, and you go to teach mode.
Okay.
And now you're in here.
All right.
This lets you do a lot of things. You can jog the machine. You see the arrows, X, right, left, Y, up, down, C, rotate, or rotate.
Okay, that makes
Right.
sense.
You have a feed rate. I think it only goes up to 20. 20 is very, very fast. Don't
hold over doing it, right?
only for manual moving. So jog. But it'll only go up to 20, and 20 is, to me, what I do, 10 is very fast motion. 5 is kind of fast. And then 2, 1, and 0 are your dialing in.
All right.
So for this case, I'm gonna keep it at 5. And I need to go to gripper here and grab my part. So that lets me raw gripper, clamp and unclamp, finish gripper, clamp and unclamp. Is that all? You see how I got there? So this is your normal teach mode screen. You have one called gripper. And once you get in there, you can clamp and unclamp the gripper. So right now, that's my raw part. So I'm gonna make it clamp on my raw part. And you see where the star is blinking?
Yes.
That lets me know I got my raw part clamped.
Okay.
Just to double check that I did indeed teach that point, you can see kind of right here, I'm on point number 2, pick off the raw piece. And if I go into this teach menu, it has some options on how to teach points. So you can see right here, this is my current position. This is where position number 2 is taught. So what I want to do is I want to read X position because they don't match. I want to read the Y position because they don't match. And I'm going to leave that C alone because it's really close. It just moved a little bit, you know.
Okay. Now, what was C?
C's the rotary of the gripper.
Oh, rotation.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. Now we have this teach point menu. When you come in here, it's for basically it's position check. So it allows you to manually navigate to the points. So when you say X, Y, and C, it goes to the ones down here. So you can see I'm already at that X, I'm already at that Y, and I'm already at that C. But if I click on the point number, and I go to point number 3, see, I know off the top of my head, point number 3 is above the work feeder. But if you haven't been over here for a while, or like right now, it's your first time at the machine, we have the points saved on here. So you hit this home button, the bookcase, and normally this will start, I'll show you how it normally starts. When you hit the bookcase, it says loading. Hold down page down, get you all the way to the bottom, loader teach points.
All right.
And then you just hit the enter button. Pops up this.
Nice.
Normally when it loads, it's gonna load like this. And this is just, makes it smaller. So that's called a bookmark. If you hit this button, it will make it bigger and easier to see. You can also zoom in, zoom out, right? So they're named. So 3 is above the 2 stockers and in the middle, right? So that's how I knew to go to 3. So this isn't like X plus, X minus, Y plus, Y minus, or C left and right. This is go to the X position that you see down here, go to the Y position that you see down here, go to the C position that you see down here. So this is kind of like navigate to a point. You get what I'm saying?
Okay.
It's not like jog on the left and right. It's just go to the predetermined point. And you get to control the feed rate. So right now I want to go to Y because I want this thing to move up. So you could, if you don't feel safe doing that, you could manually jog up and Y to give yourself a little clearance room, you know? But what I always recommend doing is just bump the button one time. Make sure it's going the way you want and at a speed you are comfortable with. And so that's kind of the Y position for position number 3. If I wanted to move to the X position of number 3, which should be roughly in the middle, I would hold down X. And if I wanted to rotate C, I would hold down C. Okay. So now I'm going to 5. So I'm kind of manually stepping through. Imagine if the robot just grabbed the part, next thing it needs to do is put it in the machine. So if we walk over here, we should have one of these printed out, it would have been a little easier, but 5 is up here above the machine. So first I'm going to tell it to go Y5 and then X5.
Well, there's no point for, like you would think there'd be a point here to bring it from here to here.
15 is that
Oh,
point.
that's it? Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Well, you don't need it. So I'll show you why. 5 is all the way up, but over here. I don't need to move to 5 all at the same time. I can say move Y first, then move X.
Okay.
So that's what we're going to do here. And I do want to give a word of caution. If those grippers are vertical with a part, it's possible to strike the drip pan up here. So if you look up here, there's a little bit of a drip pan to catch coolant, and that drains into the machine. If your part is long enough and you have the grippers vertical, when you come across, you can hit this with your part. So always, 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 before you move, make sure your C is flat. Okay? So I want to go to position 5, but if I just tried to move over, right, I'd smash into the machine. So the first thing I do is Y. So go to the Y for 5. Goes up. Now I'm there. This is the only time I really ever use 10. And you'll see 10 is fast enough to, slow enough to stop, but fast enough to get where you're going. That's why I don't really go faster than 10 in manual mode.
But it wouldn't be wrong to program position 15 over there.
15's programmed over there already.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You just, we weren't going to 15 because 5 was like our target. So first we went up and then we came over. If you went to 15, you would go up. Then you'd have to change it to 5 to come over. So it's about the same, you know what I mean?
Motions.
Yeah. And that's kind of how the gantry is programmed. You can just tell it to go take any axis to any point. So you can tell it to go to X of 2, but Y of 3. And it'll make that move at the same time.
All right.
Okay, so now I'm number 5, wait outside lathe. These are also labeled in here. So I'm in the waiting position outside of the lathe. Turret, we have this set up so that turret station number 5 is the ready position. If we look on here, the X and Z axes have this green light next to them. It means they're home, all the way back in the corner. And we should have a green light here. It means the robot's allowed to enter the machine.
Oh, okay. If we see green, it's a robot is busy, right?
Yeah. No, it means the robot is safe to come in the machine.
Oh, okay.
So watch, if I index a turret, the light goes away. Because now if I bring the robot in, I can hit a tool holder.
This one?
If I move the Z axis, if I move the Z this way, my light is gone. If I move the X axis down, the light goes away as well. So this light only matters if the robot is automatic. If you're in manual, you can bring the robot in whenever you want.
Okay.
But I recommend you always look here and make sure everything is clear before you bring the robot in so you don't hit anything. Because in manual, there's no safety. You can just crash if you want, you know?
Nobody wants that.
Well, not if you want, but...
Don't tell them.
Yeah.
Okay. So, one thing on here, we lost our setup screen, the points. You can hit home again and manuals again and open it. We can also hold down Alt and Tab and kind of go through the windows. The one we want is the orange one that says PDF. So it takes me here. So that's Alt and Tab at the same time. Back to machine.
You need to study tonight. Okay.
If you forget that, it's no big deal, right? Because if we're here, what you really need to remember is home, manuals. If you hit that, right? Okay. So next thing we need to do is 6, middle of the machine. Now we don't care about the X for 6, we only care about the Y for 6. So that's the only one I'm gonna move right now. I'm gonna go to 6, go to Y. And now I'm gonna slow this down because that's too fast. You like it? Okay. And now I'm gonna go to 8. Well, actually, I'm gonna go to 7, then 8. So 7 is like a safe position, and then so it kind of goes a little faster, and then 8 it goes in a little slower. Okay, so on here I have to pick my point. 7. Load raw piece. This one does not tell you. Both 7 and 8 have the same name. Load raw piece. 9 and 10 have the same name. Unload finish piece. So just be wary. One doesn't say, safe move. On here it says preload and load, preload and or pre-unload and unload. But here it just says the same thing. So be wary of that. So one thing I need to do first is get my C. You see how the C was down a little bit? I want to get that correct.
How'd you do that?
I just told it C because this has already been taught. But now I'm gonna.
Are you just eyeballing that?
The C? No, I typed that number in earlier.
But how would you set that if that was off?
Okay.
Would you actually just tram it in, or?
So when we had the finished workpiece on here, since it had already been faced off, we used the distance from these jaws to the finished piece to kind of square it up.
Okay.
You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So we didn't use an indicator, we just did it visually.
All right, you
Moving
eyeballed it.
Yeah, bumping it in a thou at a time and watching the gap. And when one jaw was too close, we bumped it back a little, and then we moved it in again and did that.
Okay.
Yeah. So yeah, it is eyeballing. Okay, so this is your teach mode. Now I'm going to go into teach because I want to record this point. For the most part, as long as your part lengths don't change a lot, this position 7 you won't be teaching over and over and over again. The only one you really change is 8, all the way this way.
Finish.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to move it over an X a little bit, and say that looks probably good right there, maybe a little bit closer. Okay. So then I say X reading, and it'll record the X over there. You'll see that number 564. When I hit read over here, it changes so that they're equal, and it says, "Are you sure?" So you have a chance to back out, and it goes back to the old number. Once you hit read, you say enter. Now it's saved. And again, 7 isn't one you probably are going to mess with a lot. Now from here, I can either type in a point like 8, or you can go up and down. 9, 10, 8. So 8, we're going to bump in. And because of this jaw design, so that was way too fast, right? So we'll go down to 2. Because of this jaw design, we have no room for error. So we need to actually basically just get the robot straight up into the jaws. Something like that. Maybe even feed it in a little bit more. I don't like this setup. I mean, this is not how you want to run a robot, really. If you're at 1 or 2, when you bump X, it changes by like kind of a random number, and it can drift a little bit. If you go down to 0 and you bump it, every time it moves 0.02. So when you're trying to fine tune, that's what you want to do, is 0. And you bump it, boom, 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 boom. If you hit it 10 times and let go, it'll still move 0.2 instead of 0.02. It tracks how many times you're pushing it.
Okay.
So, see, it kept moving. Okay. So we're kind of touching here. It's important that this jaw is always pointed down. At least one jaw is pointed down, because when you open the grippers, the part will fall. You need that jaw there to hold it.
When the machine, does it index to that?
Yeah. There's a place to teach it on the machine.
All right.
So let me finish teaching this point, because that's the last one we really need to teach. So I'm going to read the X position. So I got a new X. Say yes. So now my X, my Y, and my C all are the same, just to make sure this point looks good. Now I've got my raw. I'm going to open it. You see it push in there with the springs? Then you clamp the chuck. There we go.
You clamp after open?
Yeah. Because it's a saw cut, so you need compliance.
Okay.
Right.
Because it is just 140. We have that for chucking there.
Yeah, not enough. It's not enough for chucking. We already had discussions. Basically, if you try to run this setup automated, a part's gonna come out eventually, you know? Small chip gets in there, a burr on the part,
Because
something.
that was my question. It's too small, not
Yeah.
enough.
Not enough.
You know, they need buy a bigger part, or they change.
Are we getting hard jaws in?
I don't know. That's all still kind of open. We wrote a list of everything to kind of look at so that it
Fine-tune
can
it.
run unattended. But right now, you just got to kind of watch it and make sure, get a, you know. We also talked, you can come down with a turret and a pusher, and you can push on the part and open and close the jaws again as part of your part program. And that might be a good interim kind of thing
Yeah.
to do. But if there's a burr there, you know, from the saw,
Yeah.
it's going to sit on the burr. And when you go to drill, the drill is going to hit that and cockeye the part, and the whole thing will come flying out.
Yeah.
There must be everything perfect
Yeah.
for this one.
Because when you have it's a lot different when you have an operator